Alright, welcome back. We're up the creek today and I'm here to showcase some pretty cool new stuff I've been having a bit of a play with over the last few months. This is just a couple of the products that we're going to be talking about today from Nomad. It's a new live ops series of soft plastics which are going to be available at the trade show. So if you're watching this video, they're already in store, so head on in and have a look. We've got a whole bunch of different baits to run through today. I'm going to sit here and go through them all with you, and then we're going to go and have a little bit of a look and see if we can catch some fish. Let's get straight to it. All right, first up, I'm going to talk about these three models here. These are all pretty cool new systems, something that hasn't been done before in the soft plastic market, and that is the adjustable tungsten system. So just by the name Live Ops, these are all optimized for your live scope, like forward-facing sonar and like your perspective mode. So your tungsten weights that are inside these show up really well on the screens. And yeah, there's three different models that I'm going to run you through today. All right, so first up we got the Fallout Minnow. They come in three sizes. We've got 3.5, 4.25 and a 5-inch. This is the 5-inch model, which I do think is probably our most suited to our barramundi market. You've got the 3.5 and the 4.2, which I do think have a lot of different applications around the country, but yeah, for me the hero of the show is going to be the 5-inch. So one of the best things about this is they all come with the tungsten weights built in. You've got 2 in each bait in the packet there. There's 4 in a pack, and yeah, I'm going to show you really quickly how to move the baits, the weight around the baits. So basically what this whole system is about is a level sink and being able to control your sink. As you know, a lot of the fish do bite on the drop or on the pause. So if you rig it with a traditional jig head, you get that nose first fall, which doesn't look natural. And yeah, so what this whole concept is about is just basically ultra finesse. You will get 8 weights in the packet, so you do have a few different options there, and you can buy extra packets of balls. So if you are running heavily, like a lot of current like we've got today, you can fit up to 7 tungsten balls in this packet. So yeah, the cool thing about this is just basically it's finesse applications. You can just adjust the weight position to get the sink rate that you want and to get a nice level sink. If you're going to run a jig head up in the nose, you can put more balls down at the back just to level the bait out, and you will get a nice shimmy on the drop with them. So with your sink rates and that, you've got all the information on the back. We've got, if you rig it up with all 6 balls in there, you're going to get about 1 foot per second sink rate. So if you fish a 10 foot of water or something like that, and you're going to get that nice level sink all the way down to the bottom. So yeah, the beauty of it is you can just manipulate the sink rate and also the fall pattern. I think these things, like amongst the next two like this and the next 2 products, is probably going to be the standout just for, you know, heavily pressured barra and stuff like that. So I'm very keen to give these a go. I have been fishing them a little bit, but yeah, it's the middle of winter, so as it warms up, this is going to be my little secret weapon for barra. All right, next we got the Cobra Minnow. So this is a 4.5 inch. It also comes in a 3 3/4 inch size. It's got the little wings out the front here, which is basically designed to, with a really slight little hop, you can get maximum action. It lifts the lure up off the bottom. So I can see these being really handy, like casting into like along drop-offs and stuff. So cast it on, get your nice level sink with your shimmy, give it a little tiny lift. The little fins on the front there are going to give it maximum lift. So it's going to pop up and shimmy back down on the drop. So I have used these just with a straight wind. They get like a little bit of a head up and a little bit of a sway going. I reckon they're going to be cool fishing in drains and whatnot. So yeah, once again, you can change your weights and move them up and down the bait just to get the level sink or the desired sink. I haven't tried them with a jig head yet, but you can rig them with a jig head and just bump the weights all down at the back end here to counter the weight of your jig head, so you get that sink. But yeah, I reckon these are going to be a cool little one, like I said, fishing in drains and ledges, drop-offs and all that sort of thing. Yeah, the third bait in the adjustable tungsten system is the Delta Minnow. So you can see the little bib on the front of there. It does have a little slot up in the bib, so you can rig it up weedless. You have a look on the back of the packet, it's got a few different rigging options there. I'll show you a couple in a minute as well. But yeah, just the little bib on the front there, it just gives a nice action at a super slow straight wind. So you can have a really subtle presentation and, you know, just keep that moving really slowly, and it gets maximum action. So you can also give it short, sharp stabs of the rod, and you will get a bit of a walk the dog action. I've had a bit of a play with that, and yeah, I like to rig these like with all the weights in. So you just bomb all the weights in, and then rig it with a weedless hook and fishing it in deeper holes, and just fishing over the bait with like lifts of the rod tip. So yeah, I reckon these ones are probably going to be really good for like threadies and barra and all that sort of stuff, maybe jacks and the snags, and hopefully we get some of them a bit later. So rigging these up, you've got a little slot up here in the nose, so you don't even have to try and worry about rigging it up straight. the jig head's just going to fit straight up through there, and then once again I'm just going to line up these holes on the bottom which line up perfectly in between the chambers for the balls, so you're not going to pierce them or anything like that. So I've got no weights in there just yet, but I can just go and maneuver them around to counter the weight. I think, just judging by this is a tungsten jig head, but I reckon if I put 3 weights in the back there, I'm going to get pretty close to a level sink. Alright, so this one here I've got rigged up with a jig head. That's a 5/0 1/8 BKK Harpax jig head. I do have 2 weights in the back there. I've fished this one a little bit around the shallows and whatnot. Yeah, the 2 weights in the back counter the 1/8 jig head perfectly, and yeah, that's rigged up just through the same hole at the front. Just rig him up nice and straight, and if I do have a bit more current, I can bomb some weights through the middle or whatever to get the desired sink rate. So there's two rigging options there. They're the ones that I've sort of used a fair bit through the testing and whatnot. So yeah, but the options are endless. You can run a 1/2 ounce jig head and just bomb this whole thing with weight if you want. It's totally up to you and you know the application that you need it for. So that's one of the beauties of these baits, is that you've got endless rigging options and endless weight options to sort of like suit whatever style of fishing that you're doing on the day. So yeah, in the adjustable tungsten series, that's the 3 baits there. You got the Fallout, the Delta and the Cobra. Yeah, we got 10 different colors in each of them, and they're all available in stores now. So go in, check them out, and give it a go. I'm keen to see what you can do with them. Next up, we've got the Switcher Shrimp. So I've got one rigged up there. The cool thing about the Switcher Shrimp is it can be rigged up 4 different ways, with whether you want to rig it weedless or if you want to rig it with a jig head. As you can see there, I've got him rigged up backwards, or you can run it forwards with the jig head or backwards with the jig head. Now you'll see here underneath you've got a little slot here open, and you'll see that fits that BKK Harpax jig head perfectly. So you can just push the jig head up in there, and it does have little slots already pre-molded, so you can just poke the eye of the hook through, and the same on the nose. So you can run that forward or backwards, and that's one of the beauties of this thing. So they come in 10 different colors and 4 different sizes. This is the little 2.3 inch jelly prawn, I like to call it. We got the 3.5 inch, 4.25 and a 5 inch. So I've actually had these rigged up just like this, where I can cast them into a snag, twitch it out, bring it out like 6 or 8 inches, and then just drop the rod tip and the lure actually glides back into the snag. So it's a really cool different concept for a prawn. There's a lot of prawns on the market, but I think this one has a point of difference, and it's something pretty cool that I'm excited to use a bit more. Alright, next up we got the hero of the range. This is the Squid Jerk. So they come in 6 different sizes: 2.5 inch, 3.25, 4, 5, 7 and 9 inches. So this is the 7 inch in my hand, which I think is probably going to be perfect, like the best all-round size for all your nannies, reds, finger mark, all the good stuff you find offshore and snapper down south at big dewies and whatnot. The options are endless. Everything eats a squid. I'm going to show you this with the big guy here. You're really going to wish you had smell-o-vision, because these things absolutely stink. They got the little balls on the end, so you can just pretty much rig that up. That'll fit a 9/0 BKK Harpax. Rig it up, just your traditional jerk shad sort of style, drop it in the rod holder, and you get maximum movement with these legs and tentacles moving around. So you can also use it just like a typical jerk shad with short, sharp, erratic hops, and yeah, rigged up with the BKK Harpax. They've got a nice, darting shaped jig head, which gets a nice erratic walk the dog kind of action. So you can use it super subtle or super erratic. It's just one of them baits that I think is going to really take the offshore market by storm. Next we got the double down jerk shad. So basically just a simple jerk shad design. These ones do have a little bit of a twist though. So as you can see, they've got the 2 very long split kind of tail with a little segment in the body there to get a little bit more side to side movement. You got the little balls on the end here, which give you maximum movement for minimum effort. So yeah, these things have been designed with the whole strolling technique. So if you're not sure what that is, that's basically forward mode on your live scope, and you're sinking the lure down, putting this on the barra's nose and just wiggling it, and just the big split in the tail and that little bit of movement there in the body just gives you, like I said, maximum action for minimal movement, when you can just put that on top of a barra's nose with like a 1/2 ounce jig head and just jiggle it in the dams. They can't resist it. You've seen it. It won ABT last year, but this is Nomad's take on the jerk shad for strolling. So double down shad comes in 4 different sizes: 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch and 7 inch, and a huge range of colours. So keep an eye out for them. They can be used offshore. Like I said, they could be also used in the dams and whatnot. It's all about just maximum movement for minimal action. like I said, the ball's on the nose, you've got little fins there, the cutout slots. So yeah, there's plenty going on with that. It's not just a jerk shad. So yeah, keep an eye out for them. There's going to be plenty of applications, like I said, from offshore right through to the freshwater stuff. And yeah, heaps of cool colours, so check them out. All right, next up we got the Dozer Minnow. So this one's a 5-inch. They come in 3 different sizes, a 3, a 4 and a 5-inch. Now one thing you're really going to notice about these when you grab them is they are TPE, but they've also got a whole bunch of little ribs in there. So they're quite deep, those little ribs. They are slotted for a weedless hook. But yeah, the ribs are really deep. You can either, they are scented, but you can rub your own scent in there. But what the ribbing does is just gives you little micro vibrations through the water, and it also helps when you skip casting and stuff. So that's the little 4-inch there, and then we've also got a little 3-inch, which is this is what I've been tying on for my kids. Like I said, they're TPE, so super stretchy. Anything with teeth ain't going to damage them, and very simple to use. Nice little tight action with a little bit of body roll there. Yeah, I just think with the durability of the TPE material and the awesome colours that they've got, it's going to be something that is worth giving a try. One thing that's pretty cool is it does have a painted on eye. It's not a like a moulded eye or a stuck on eye, so you're not going to lose your eyes when you get a couple of fish on them. All right, and then we got the Spectrum Minnow. So we're moving into the PVC baits now. So this is a little bit softer and a bit more supple, but it gives you a lot nicer action at slower speeds and whatnot. So yeah, this is the 3.25-inch. There is a 2.3, a 4 and a 5-inch. I haven't personally seen the 4 and a 5-inch. It was a little bit of an afterthought, but I'm pretty keen to have a play with them. Being a PVC bait, they are going to get chewed up by fish, but this one is all about the subtle and finesse sort of application. You can get that really nice lifelike action with a super slow speed, just being a bit softer bait than the TPE. But yeah, they will tear. They also come with it, I don't know if you can see it there, but there's like a little bit of foil. They call it the Mirage X internal foil system, which just gives a little bit of flash and just adds to the finesse. So you can rig them weedless, rig them with a jig head, whatever you sort of want. Pretty keen to get my hands on the 4 and the 5-inch. Like I said, I haven't seen them yet, but yeah, it was a bit of an afterthought, and I'll be having a play with them pretty soon. All right, and then we've got the Wingman. So the Wingman is quite a unique sort of bait. It's something that you know, it's once again for that strolling technique. It is a PVC jerk shad. As you can see, it's got that Mirage X foil system inside as well. And it's also got a quite a unique tail system. So like I said, this is for your strolling and stuff again. As you can see, it comes out of the packet rigged as one piece, but if you get the legs, you can actually pull them apart, and they're sort of perforated just so you can get maximum action out of that lure. So you can see how much more movement there is once you split the tail. Like I said, this is the one that's been taken over the US market for that strolling technique. So just hopping it in front of the fish and just wiggling it on their head. And then it's got this little fin, which is like a stopper on the top. So if you're twitching it forward, you can get a lot of action out of this tail without dragging the bait forward. So that's going to create just a little bit of drag to hold it back in the current and keep it on the fish's nose for longer. So these come in 3 different sizes: 3 3/4, 4 1/2, and a 5 1/4 inch. So yeah, 5 1/4 inch, that one there. I did hear that they might be making some bigger ones later in the year, so I'm pretty keen to see them for Barra. And yeah, like I said, it's probably best suited to like dams, strolling and whatnot, and then anywhere that you're going to use a jerk shad. So you can rig that up weedless or with a jig head. It doesn't really matter. It's going to work both ways. So next we got the little 2.25-inch Radiac Scrub. This is something that I wasn't too excited about when I first heard about it, and then I went down to the Nomad warehouse and I seen this thing swimming in the test tank, and I was pretty impressed. Yeah, on that tail it's got a little stopper, so it's got like a little ball on the end of the tail, which just helps add to the tail movement at super slow speed, and all the little legs get their little wiggle on. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a cool lure. Those guys down south chasing bass and stuff, even all that sort of stuff, I think this is going to be a bit of a game changer for them. Just the subtle movements of the legs and the tail, yeah, just so crazy with such slow speed. So I do think it's a pretty cool little lure. All right, and then we get into the real Barra stuff. So we've got a 6-inch and an 8-inch in the Maniac. So these are a rigged swim bait, perfect for the live scope and stuff. They have a little air chamber inside. I've actually been using it to use my little straw from the adjustable weight stuff and jam down a couple of tungsten balls, squeezing it full of bit of scent. And yeah, these things show up really well on the scope with that air pocket. So one of the unique things with this harness is it comes all integrated inside. It's got a plate system in there that holds it. Like I said, that's an 82 gram in the 8-inch, and your hook can fold away. And it's just held in up the top there by a little like a little split ring type keeper. and it's the same thing on the bottom there. So when you get a fish on, that can like basically just completely swing away, and you've got your fish there with your bait sort of out of the mess, out of the business. And then once you get back to it, you can easily just rig it back up. It's got a little spigot at the top there for your hook to go into, and then the hook just clips down into there like that. These do have a custom top hook that is a BKK, sort of like a jigging hook, super heavy duty. You can fish that confidently knowing that the barra aren't going to destroy it, and it's made to be rigged up perfectly every time. So very easy to get that harness in and out. And I don't know if you can see it with this one. I might pull out another color just to show you the little air pocket in there, but as you know, air pockets show up really well on the scope. So this is just something, you know, that when you're using it in perspective mode and stuff, if you've got, like I said, I put the tungsten balls in there. It does help keep the bait level in the water as well. But yeah, it just shows up amazingly on the live scope stuff. So keep an eye out for them if you're fishing, like if you're seriously fishing for big barra on the scope. TPE material, super stretchy, so it's going to last plenty of fish. For the guys that want to rig their own baits, they come also in an unrigged 2-pack. So basically same sort of, exactly the same lure, just without the harness. You've got a nice belly slot there if you did want to run a weedless harness setup, and then you've got the little chamber in there with the air pocket. So it's essentially the exact same lure, just unrigged, so you can do your own, you know, weights and size, hook sizes and whatnot, depending on how you want to rig it on the day. And lastly, we got the Sumo Shrimp. So 3 sizes, 4-inch, 5-inch and 6.5. That's an unrigged version. And then this is the harnessed, same harness as you just saw in the Maniacs, but yeah, the harness version. So yeah, once again, super strong setup, designed optimally for live scope. They do have a couple of little chambers in here. So there's one in the tail and one in the mid body for you to put a tungsten ball in so you can show up on your live scope well. They've got a super fat sort of profile you can see there. That's just to hold it up in the water. So when you're, you know, fishing for barra on the scope, you want to really try and keep that lure in the zone without sinking too fast or you know, coming back up. So basically that nice wide profile just helps to hold its position in the water column, so you can wind it in front of the fish and keep it in front of their face as long as possible. Like I said, they come rigged and unrigged. The rigged one with the harness I think is a pretty special little lure. These aren't going to be available till about a bit later in the year, so I'd probably keep an eye out for these in around October. Hopefully if everything goes to plan, they should be ready by then. So yeah, Sumo Shrimp, rigged and unrigged, 4, 5 and 6.5 inch. That's pretty much the run through of the full range. So as you can see, there's a lot of different baits there. They all got, you know, 6 or more colors and everything. So there's going to be plenty of new stuff for you to play with. It's all being released this year after 2025. I think with a solid range like that, there's going to be something there for just about everyone in all different areas of Australia to catch, you know, to go and fish and just have something new to play with. All right, that's us. We're going to go and have a little bit of a fish now, test out a couple of them lures. Yeah, while I got you here, just make sure you go and check out mixedgonefishing.com for all the merch. Very limited sizes and colours in these, so if you see something you like, get on it, because once it's sold out, you're going to miss out.